you of 4 friggin' days, baby.
Yes. 4 days.
This is like a genie over here. He just grants wishes.
He just keeps, he's a magician. Cat's name's Cooper.
Cat's name's Cooper?
Obviously, I already met him. It was priority number 1.
Oh, hello there. Yes, we went to Bourbon in Time 2020, 2nd annual.
Yes, and it was very interesting because, you know, as you all are well aware, it posed some challenges, but we were able to still attend. Thankfully, it was like one of the only things we got to do in 2020, and everything was safe, and we got to have some really great experiences.
That's right. Now this video is probably going to be a longer one because it was a long weekend, so if you want to hop around, notice that there are chapter markers down there in the scrub bar that you can do so. So what exactly is Bourbon in Time? Bourbon in Time is a weekend-long event created by whiskey lovers for whiskey lovers. And at the heart of this passion project is Eric.
But of course, it couldn't happen without the many partners involved that understand that whiskey is truly about the community that surrounds it.
So over this long weekend, we visited Wilderness Trail, Bardstown Bourbon Company, Preservation Distillery, Lux Row Distillers, Buffalo Trace, and had a Woodinville whiskey-centric dinner at Red Hog in Louisville, Kentucky.
Our first stop was Wilderness Trail Distillery. Now, we could have Eric tell you about why it's so unique.
You know, this is unusual because Wilderness Trail was kind of the pioneer of sweet mash. It's starting to be a trendy little term now, so there are...
But then someone decided it was a great time to run a chainsaw. I don't blame them. They didn't know that was running audio.
The everyday person doesn't account for audio.
No, what can you do? But basically the gist of what Eric said there was Wilderness Trail is so unique because they do the sweet mash process instead of the sour mash, which is sort of a trendy term now, as Eric said. A lot of other distilleries are doing it now, and in large part because of Wilderness Trail, they also assist a lot of other distilleries with their sweet mash, in large part because of Dr. Pat there, and because of their amazing lab.
Now let's throw it to Jared, who can tell us more about what Wilderness Trail has to offer.
We do 3 main styles of whiskey here. We do a wheated bourbon. That's what we started off making. It's a high wheat. We do 64% corn, 24% wheat, 12% malted barley. We do a small batch high rye bourbon. That's the same recipe. We just swap that wheat and the rye out. That's going to be our black label. You guys kind of see. We'll get to taste all that good stuff here later on. And then we do a whole lot of rye whiskey too.
Now he goes on to say that they use the Kentucky style of rye, which is 56% rye, which I'd never heard of that before.
I've also never heard of this before,
Kentucky
but they are
style
the experts.
It's 56%? Like, I know there's so many barely legal at 51%, but different video, right?
Right.
Different time, different video.
You know what is refreshing though about that, Chad, is that we've been on so many distillery tours being two Kentuckians, and I feel though like I still learn something new on each one. And that's why I loved going places like Wilderness Trail.
Yeah, he also told us about how they just purchased some land really close there to the distillery where they're going to be putting up 11 new warehouses.
Can you believe it?
Come on, I can.
One of the things that we love so much about Wilderness Trail is that when they were coming up, you know, they didn't start releasing their own distillate until it was 4 years old. And we love to see that. But now they're even keeping more barrels back so that that minimum age can be raised to 6 years. And that's actually what we're drinking right now, is their 6-year-old.
6-year.
And it is so delicious.
So then we went into the lab and we got lots of information.
What are the yeast going to use to make the alcohol?
Sugars.
So we got a whole shitload of sugar right here at the beginning, and we don't have a whole lot of anything else going on.
And I mean, lots of information. Like, I'm glad that we're super into this stuff. It kept our attention, but man, Dr. Pat knows his stuff.
He does know his stuff. And more about the drinking and less about the science.
Right.
But we did get to try their new make, and a couple of fun facts about Wilderness Trail is that they were actually the answer to a question on Jeopardy recently.
What is Wilderness Trail?
Right? They're actually one of the top 15 bourbon producers in the world.
Yeah, already.
Already. 215 barrels a day.
It's crazy. You want to equate that to bottles? That's 50,000 bottles a day.
That's crazy.
So after that, we headed on down the road, to Bardstown to Bardstown Bourbon Company, one of our favorites.
So we started at Pete's Place, which is named after Peter Lofton, who is the founder of Bardstown Bourbon Company. And his first hire was Steve Nally, who let us try something new.
Yeah, something that I wish was in our glass right now. It's not. It's the first release of a Masters series, which will be undertaken by Steve Nally. It'll come out annually, and it is limited. And when we mean limited, we'll just listen to Dan Calloway, or Danny Bardstown, as he's known, talking about how limited this will be.
I know, Eric, a lot of you guys come from the Scotch world. McAllen's idea of limited is very different from our idea of limited. This is, when he says 4 barrels, it's literally 4 barrels that created this entire Masters series. It's something you'll see annually from us. It'll be our best release that our team comes up with. It'll have Steve's guidance.
Then we got to hear from one of our favorite people, the lovely Peggy No Stevens.
Our industry is a community, and as much as I'm meeting you for the first time tonight, I promise you our paths will cross again. Whether this is your first visit or your 20th visit, we're always happy to see you. Cheers.
Thank you. This is why I love Kentucky and it's my second home, because every time I meet somebody from Kentucky, they become like family.
She was there, among other things, to talk about her newly released book, Which Fork Do I Use With My Bourbon?
The book tonight that is in your hands is everything I've ever known about hospitality and entertaining, events, tastings, food pairings.
Peggy, who of course is the foremost expert on food pairings with whiskey, is also the founder of Bourbon Women,
which I am a member of.
That is correct.
Really and truly, I find that a woman's palate, we're debunking the myth that we like sweet and light and low proof. We like robust, spicy, and high proof whiskey.
So yeah, I mean, if you watch our show at all, you know that that is true of me. I do like bigger, bolder, barrel-proof bourbons.
Barrel-proof.
So it's nice to know that I'm not the only one out there. Found that community through Peggy.
Later on, we went on a tour of the distillery with Nick Smith, the head distiller. And he gave us a lot of really good information. Distilleries are noisy places.
They're not quiet.
So instead of hearing it from the horse's mouth, we're just gonna have to reiterate.
Yeah, so Bardstown Bourbon Company has quadrupled in size in under 2 years. They're the 7th largest bourbon and whiskey producer in the US, with about 32 clients and over 50 different mash bills. And it is delicious. Their own stuff is delicious. Now they do blend a lot, so they are a company that is making their own distillate and blending it with sourced whiskey, but as their stuff comes of age, the portion of that blend, it goes up in their favor.
Yeah.
So we love to see that too.
Yeah, the amount of quality control that they have there is really crazy. Just listen to Nick here.
And with all this equipment, it helps. We're able to track every single spec in here to try to replicate their exact process or recipe that they do at their facility. So I can go back to every fermenter, and I'll touch on this upstairs. I can see exactly how it ran through the still, at what gallon per minute, what temperature, the feed rates, what the low wine, high wine condensers are, and then we can run the GC analysis on it, and then I can replicate that exact same thing for someone the next time to run the same product across the board.
Then we tried their mash.
Very appley.
Got to taste the new make, and somehow ended up on the roof.
Yeah, then we went back into the warehouse. We sampled from the Bourbon in Time 95.5 rye barrel, then climbed 6 flights of stairs to the top of the warehouse.
Floor 6. This is us. Taking the stairs.
Then we went to a cocktail class where Javi taught us how to make the ship shape, a variation on an old fashioned. That was a good cocktail.
Yes, and somewhere in all that time they also fed us lunch, and I probably needed a nap, but
lunch
I didn't.
was before the cocktail.
There was lunch in there somewhere.
Yeah, we ate.
Now that's a tasty cocktail.
After the cocktail class, we made it to the pinnacle of all hopes and dreams, the vintage tasting room.
Yeah, and that's where we had a hard choice in front of us, Sarah. We had to pick one between a Stitzel Weller Rebel Yell 80 proof, a 12-year Wild Turkey 101 Cheesy Gold Foil from the 90s, and an Eagle Rare 101 proof 10-year. The group picked the Cheesy Gold Foil.
I want them all.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back in time and choose them differently.
And it was good. You know, Eric was in both groups. The other group, I think, picked the Eagle Rare, so he had both of those. Here's Eric to talk about the difference between them.
It's like picking children. I mean, I have a lot of the older cheesy gold that I've tried. The 80s cheesy gold is blow your mind good. Eagle Rare 10101's always been my favorite. You know, I just had the double Eagle Rare, and I would still pick the Eagle Rare 10101 over the double Eagle Rare. So awesome. Yeah, if you have the money, go buy the old stuff.
And just being in the vintage room in general,
there's
Sarah.
So much history in there, and I think some people would think it's daunting, like look at all these things that you'll never have, but the beauty of it is that you can have them.
Everything's on the menu.
Right, everything is on the menu, and I do think that they have a pretty wide range of like availability and pricing as far as their vintage menu. You know, not everyone has to drop $200 just to have a pour of something from yesteryear, which is something that I love about going to Bardstown.
The days of yore.
The days of yore.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a time.
Then we went outside with our Yeti mugs full of hot toddy made by Sam. We sat around the fire while others smoked cigars. And hey, look, it's Kenny from Bourbon Pursuit. Hi, Kenny.
This is just what it's about to be here in Kentucky in the fall time.
Also the community, the whiskey community.
Whiskey community.
And we're spaced out, so that's nice.
Yeah.
We're outdoors.
Outdoors. People are enjoying some cigars. We're enjoying some single barrel pours.
We're enjoying this guy.
It's Bourbon Night. It's like my favorite YouTube thing to watch.
YouTube, it's Bourbon Night YouTube, baby. Even Instagrammers like it.
Even Instagrammers like it. So that's a seal of approval.
And then we went on to Preservation Distillery. So as you remember, Chad, then we took the tour where we learned that they use Kentucky Proud products, which are grown within 10 to 15 minutes of the distillery, and they use their own groundwater. Very sustainable.
Very sustainable. And you know what else? Call back from earlier, they use the sweet mash process.
Hashtag trending.
Trending, yeah. Then we had a nice sampling, a nice flight of their products. We were tasting the Very Old St. Nick 8-year bourbon, the Very Old St. Nick Harvest Rye, the Rare Perfection 12-year, the Rare Perfection 15-year cask strength, the Very Old St. Nick 13-year bourbon, and more.
Now we've actually done some more coverage on Preservation Distillery in recent months. We did a What's It Like to Go on a Distillery Tour right now, which was a special inside scoop on what it's like to go on a distillery tour in 2020
edition, yeah.
And then we also did an uncorking of this Very Old St. Nick right here, so you can go learn more.
The Unicorn Cask, which leads us into the award for the best gift bag of the long weekend, goes to Preservation Distillery for the Very Old St. Nick 17-year Unicorn Cask and a Rare Perfection 15-year are two of the highlights that were in that gift bag. So congratulations.
And thank you to Preservation.
And thank you.
So Chad, what was our next stop?
You know, it was Lux Row Distillers.
Where we went into their warehouse, which has part of it carved out so you can see just how many barrels fit in, floor to ceiling.
Yeah, it's impressive. So then we had a nice tasting. We tasted the Rebel Yell, which is now just Rebel, Single Barrel 10-year, Blood Oath Pack 6, Old Ezra 7-year, Lux Row Double Barrel Cask Strength 12-year, and the Rebel Distillers Collection.
And as we tasted, we heard from John, their master distiller.
We knew we wanted to do another bourbon brand, but I didn't want to just go out and find some really old whiskey and put it in a bottle and put a big price tag on it. That's boring. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create more of an experience for people that were, you know, very knowledgeable about bourbon and into bourbon, you know, the connoisseur. So what I did was I sourced, and this is what I do every year, I sourced 3 older bourbons. The first year, the youngest one was 6 years, but lately the youngest ones are 8 or 9 years in those 3 bourbon marriages.
Then after that, we went to a cabin and we had another cocktail. One guess what it was. It was another old fashioned, but hey, you know, that's a really popular cocktail amongst bourbon drinkers.
It is a popular cocktail, but they kind of put their own twist on it because each of our old fashions was made with bourbon from a different single barrel. So no 2 people had the same old fashioned, which was really awesome.
It's pretty crazy. Then Sarah, it was time for some dinner. We went to Louisville.
I was hungry.
Yeah, and we went to Red Hog.
So as we said earlier, Chad, I love learning something new on these trips. And what I learned is that Red Hog is Kentucky's only whole animal butcher shop. The food was amazing, and they partnered with Woodinville to give us this dinner. Right?
Woodinville, that's right, yeah.
And we did get these fancy little bottles stamped with Bourbonnight to commemorate the event.
Yeah, we did. We had a welcome cocktail when we got there. There was a, charcuterie board with some nice cheeses on it as well.
Super memorable.
Yes, indeed. It was really, we gotta go back there, Sarah. And then later on in the evening, we had a really unique triple cask finish whiskey.
So here's a nice revelation. Trying a Woodinville whiskey here that has been triple barreled? Triple barreled, and one of those barrels was an ex-peated Scotch. So this has some light peat in it, and you know what? It ain't bad. It's actually pretty good. It's that right amount of smokiness without being obnoxious about it. It's like that whisper that non-peated fans, would appreciate. It's that smokiness, and I like it.
And later on, we had a very interesting port finish whiskey, which Eric is here to talk about.
This port is really amazing. I want you to take your time with it, leave it in your mouth, let it. It's 90 proof, but it is full of flavor. So give it some time to build, and you can taste some of the complexity. This is a super popular product. It always sells out instantly, and it's. Is this in Kentucky yet? Yeah, so it's hard to find in Kentucky because their other stuff is a little easier to find, but this is magic. So hopefully you enjoy it. Cheers! Thank you so much. Thank you to Woodinville. Thank you, Woodinville.
And then the chef came out, to give a little thanks for coming and all this and that. And he sent us home with an interesting treat.
We're about to start passing around a little thank you present for everyone to take. We made some bourbon snack sticks. So kind of like a really fancy Slim Jim that we make in the shop.
Did he just say Bourbon Slim Jims?
Bourbon Slim Jim. You had me at bourbon.
You had me at, yeah.
Slim Jim's pretty cool. It's pretty cool too.
I can't reiterate how delicious the food was at this place. And the whole experience. They had the hush puppies. We got to roast our own bourbon marshmallows over a little flame and make our own s'mores. Like, it was just a really great time.
Woodinville, man,
they know how to put on an event.
They're strong. That's a good distillery.
And on our last day, a short day, our final stop was Buffalo Trace Distillery.
We've also done lots of content with Buffalo Trace.
Many a trip.
Most recently, we took their virtual tour, which you can watch that video. But we went on another tour. There's always something new that you can learn about that. We went to the Bourbon Pompeii, which I think
we hadn't done before.
Yeah, that was our first time.
It was.
Seeing that as well. Very cool. And then later, we had a tasting.
We got to taste Wheatley Vodka, Weller Special Reserve, Buffalo Trace, Blanton's, E.H. Taylor Single Barrel, and a special treat, the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection Sazerac 18.
After our tasting, Chris, our tasting guide, took some questions, and of course with a group like this, you're gonna get some questions about Pappy Van Winkle. So here's Chris answering a question about Pappy.
We're making 3 times as much Pappy. Of course, by the time it is ready to go in a bottle, it still won't be enough, right? What we're doing is not catering towards collectors or investors. We want as many people to be able to enjoy it at a fair price as possible.
So I guess get ready to have a lot more Pappy in 20 years.
Fingers crossed for everybody out there who wants it. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah, exactly. But that wraps it up for, our long weekend on Bourbon and Time #2 or 2020.
Right, where this year we actually got to do the full experience. You can go back and look at our 2019 video where we got an abbreviated experience. Not to anyone's fault but our own. It was our availability that was an issue.
That's right.
Eric is a kind and generous soul from Bourbon and Time, aka Scotch and Time when he's not in Kentucky.
That's right.
So I think we should close it out with some words from him.
Yeah, here to close us out are some words of wisdom from the man himself, Eric.
I'm happy to be able to have a Bourbon and Time 2020, which I thought was going to be canceled. We were originally supposed to be in right after the Derby, and we know what happened there. I tried to postpone it to August, and it got kind of bad. So I think we're in a little window where we were able to do it. Bourbon and Time is a special event to me. I want to really share my love for Kentucky and my love for whiskey with the public, and bringing a lot of influencers in It's not really meant to be a snobby event. It's meant to be an experience where people can understand, you know, not just the mechanics about how the distilling happens, but really get an inside so they can kind of see what's going on behind the scenes in a way that a traditional tour doesn't have time to do. So I'm extremely grateful that we were able to do it this year, and next year is going to be even more amazing. But most of all, we're about passion and sharing the good word, and that's about it. So thank you so much, and see you next year.
This is a Russell's Reserve pick that the Dad's Drinking Bourbon did, and we tatered out a sticker by getting our inspiration from Oscar Mayer.
Okay. Does your bourbon have a first name?
It is Russells.
Nice. That's what I needed.